Oscar weekend is finally upon us, and I've seen all 50 nominations. But a good chunk of the people who vote on the Oscars haven't. I'm Maya Claire. I watch too many movies, and let's talk about every movie that was nominated for an Oscar this year. It's a topic that's talked about nearly every year, but Academy voters have a tendency to not only skip movies, but skip entire categories, claiming that they don't have time. That was sadly the case again this year. One voter even spoke anonymously with the Hollywood Reporter, and some of their comments were frankly appalling. Take, for instance, what they said about Best Animated Feature. When my kids were little, I used to be much more up to speed on this category, and now I'm not, so I'm sitting it out. Can we please move on from this idea that animation is just for kids? I think it's time to run that Guillermo del Toro.
Animation is not a genre for kids, it's a medium for art, it's a medium for film. And I just think animation should stay in the conversation.
And for Best Animated Short, they said they ran out of time. In case you were curious, the runtime for all 5 shorts combined runs barely over an hour. They somehow need to make it a requirement that if you're going to vote in the Oscars, you need to actually see all the nominees. But then, what would film nerds like me have left to complain about? So let's get onto the rankings. And just to spite that one specific Academy voter, we're going to start with the animation category. I'm not going to talk about every single nominee in depth. We just don't have that kind of time, but I'll mention all those that I think are worthy of note. At the very least, I'll give you my personal pick for Oscar, and an honorable mention or two. This category was a lot more difficult than I had originally anticipated, but there were some real gems in the Best Animated Shorts category. But honestly, not For Evergreen or The Three Sisters. Get those out of here. They were incredibly forgettable. I loved Retirement Plan, Butterfly, and The Girl Who Cried Pearls, all for very different reasons, and it was really hard to pick because each had an incredibly unique animation style. My personal pick for the Oscar would have to go to Retirement Plan, because while it does have a short runtime, it resonated with me very deeply. But ultimately, I'd be okay with seeing any of the 3 that I mentioned with the Oscar. It was a really disappointing showing from both Disney and Pixar in the Best Animated Feature category, so I'm not really going to touch on Elio or Zootopia 2 for very long. And I know this is going to make a lot of people angry, but my personal pick for the Oscar doesn't go to K-pop Demon Hunters, but instead to Little Amelie or The Character of Rain. Ultimately, K-pop Demon Hunters sat number 3 for me, behind Little Amelie and Arco. Little Amelie or The Character of Rain captured me and moved me in a way like no other animated movie has in quite a long time. And ultimately, I know K-pop Demon Hunters is going to take the Oscar, but I stand by my choice. Let's keep going with the shorts. This is fun. Before we get to my personal pick, I need to talk about Butcher's Stain and how angry it made me. A short film out of Israel, there were parts of this that felt like it could have been made any time after 9/11, with its very strange central theme of not all Muslims are bad. It genuinely felt incredibly disrespectful that this was even nominated, and ultimately, fuck Israel, free Palestine. My favorite from this category was Two People Exchanging Saliva, a dystopian French sapphic film that fleshed out an entire world in its 37-minute runtime. In the short's world, money is a thing of the past, currency is now slaps to the face, and kissing is punishable by death. Trust me, I know, the premise sounds a little weird, but with its amazing cinematography and performances, I didn't want it to stop. I swear I didn't just pick it for the lesbians, but it was a major selling point. I don't actually have quite as much to say about the documentary shorts category. My personal pick is All the Empty Rooms, which follows American journalist Steve Hartman as he works to photograph the rooms of children who were murdered in school shootings. This is honestly a deeply personal pick for me as someone who grew up in the generation where school shootings became more and more of a regular occurrence. It had me crying for the entire half-hour run. My honorable mention goes to The Devil is Busy, which follows abortion clinic workers in Atlanta, Georgia, and I highly recommend you check that one out as well. This was an absolute no-brainer for me, and my pick for Best Documentary Feature has to go to the Alabama Salute. It covers the Alabama Department of Corrections, and because the majority of interviews in the documentary are with active inmates, you get to see firsthand how fucked up the prison system in America really is. It made me even more passionate to advocate for rehabilitation over incarceration than I already am. There were aspects of this documentary that also felt incredibly timely, as more and more information comes out from ICE detention centers, showing how they're essentially concentration camps. Thanks for the bipartisan support for ICE, by the way. Democrats and Republicans all are doing a bang-up job. Let's pick up the pace a little bit and get through some categories I don't have quite as much to say about. I didn't particularly care for Avatar Fire and Ash, but I would be an idiot to not recognize how beautiful the visual effects in this movie are. Honorable mentions go to Sinners and Jurassic World Rebirth. I'm a little sad more people aren't talking about Seurat in the best sound conversation. How it uses sound is truly incredible. That being said, this movie really solidified for me that I'm never going to a rave. Here's a reminder to always engage your parking brake. Honorable mention goes to F1. I'll be a little bit surprised if something other than Frankenstein wins for best makeup and hairstyling. It feels like an absolute layup. Honorable mentions go to Kakuho and Sinners. Not you, the Smashing Machine. I truly don't care that you gave Dwayne Johnson hair and then made him bald again. Yeah, it's Frankenstein again. There's a lot I didn't like about this movie, but the world that was built out is just gorgeous. Honorable mentions go to Sinners and Marty Supreme. Alright, Frankenstein for the last time, I promise. In a similar vein with production design, the costuming for this movie is just gorgeous and fits seamlessly in the world that the movie creates. Honorable mentions to Hamnet and Sinners. We'll get into it later, but I didn't really care too much for One Battle After Another, but it's really hard to deny how just incredible the cinematography in this movie is. Honorable mentions to Sinners and Marty Supreme. Similar to cinematography, the editing for One Battle After Another is super tight and very engaging. Honorable mentions to Marty Supreme and F1, but in all honesty, only the racing scenes. While I absolutely love what was done for the script with Sinners, it's hard to deny the tour de force that was Sentimental Value screenplay. It was incredibly hard to decide between Sentimental Value, Sinners, and It Was Just an Accident. They're honestly all within spitting distance of each other. Sentimental Value just barely squeaks it out for me, though, with how seamless the dialogue is in such a dialogue-heavy movie. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm pulling an Academy on this one. I don't have the time to hunt down all the original sources for Best Adapted Screenplay. I'm skipping this category. Best Casting was an incredibly difficult category to decide on. Whether or not I liked every movie in this category didn't matter. The casting decisions and all of them were incredible. Sinners is going to be my top choice for this category. The chemistry between each of the actors is absolutely undeniable, and you truly feel part of the world that they create. Honorable mentions to The Secret Agent and Marty Supreme. I'd be lying if I said this was honestly just a two-horse race for me between Coogler and Trier. Zhao, Safdie, and PTA all honestly fell pretty short for me. And honestly, fuck it. This is my video. I can do whatever the hell I want. I'm giving the Oscar to both Coogler and Trier. Two of the best movies of the year. I still want justice for Park Chan-wook and No Other Choice, but you can really feel the artistic command they have over these movies. So we all know the Oscars doesn't always recognize what probably should win for Best Original Score. But this year, it's gotta go to Sinners. It's just too solid throughout the movie. A big honorable mention to Begonia's score, though. It's pretty incredible for how well the score fits within the movie, knowing that the person who composed it hadn't seen a single minute of footage. It's time to make K-pop Demon Hunter fans mad again. I'm sorry, Golden was not the best song of the year, nor do I even think it was really the best song in that movie. My personal pick is I Lied to You from Sinners, and honestly, how could it not be? Not only was it the best song of the year, but it created one of the most stunning visuals for a musical scene in a movie, maybe ever? And the way it perfectly weaves together music and culture throughout Black history, absolute chef's kiss. I'm really excited to see this one performed live at the Oscars. My pick for best non-English language film goes to Sentimental Value, but I want to talk about that one more when we get to the best picture category. Instead, I want to highlight two other films that were nominated for the category this year. It Was Just an Accident highlights how important filmmaking is, even if you have to go through unconventional means of doing it. And in a film about revenge against the state, it really does act as a metaphor for all the hurdles Jafar Panahi has to overcome in order to get his movies made in Iran. I also thought it was incredibly important how the voice of Hind Rajab highlighted Israel's genocidal campaign on the Palestinian people. I really admired how they highlighted an individual case, and while that case in particular went viral, it's an important reminder that each life that is lost whenever we see these numbers of tens of thousands, that each number is and was a person. Both are absolutely incredible, and I would say they are required viewing. Now we get to the really exciting stuff, Best Supporting Actor and Actresses. While Delroy Lindo was an incredibly close second, my pick has to go to Stellan Skarsgård. Not only does he give one of the best performances of the year, but knowing that he had to be fed those lines through an earpiece due to a stroke makes it even more memorable. It is truly remarkable and deserves to be recognized for the fact that he keeps acting continuously, despite not being able to remember lines. My personal pick for Best Actor is gonna be another controversial one. Michael B. Jordan was my runaway favorite for this category until I saw Blue Moon. Ethan Hawke's performance in that movie be one of, if not his best performance ever. The entire 100-minute runtime is essentially a non-stop monologue, and Ethan Hawke has you hanging on every single word. You can truly feel how tortured Loren's heart was as a person. The movie is not for everyone, I recognize that, but I do think it is one of the most underrated performances of the year. And while we're on the topic of Best Actor, it's a little disappointing Jesse Plemons wasn't recognized for his work in Begonia. I honestly would have put him above Wagner Moura, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Timothée Chalamet. This was an incredibly difficult category for me to pick a clear winner. And Elle Fanning and Amy Madigan, I love you both, but the performances from Wunmi Masaka, Inga, and Teyana Taylor are just in a league of their own. But if I had to give it to just one, it would go to Wunmi for how deeply her presence is felt throughout Sinners in the scenes she is and isn't in. I did warn you that this pick would be a little controversial too. I know Jessie Buckley has been the favorite for the entirety of her award season, but in all honesty, she ranks 4th on my list, only ahead of Kate Hudson in Song Sung Blue. Emma Stone's performance in Begonia is absolutely incredible and was even better on a rewatch. And I'm a little disappointed in myself that I haven't seen a Renee Rentz movie before. I absolutely need to check out more of her filmography after this video is over. I related a little too deeply with her character in Sentimental Value. It was a bit startling at times. But my personal pick has to go to Rose Byrne in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. If you don't want kids and your partner does, just show them this movie. It's an incredibly effective form of birth control. You could truly feel her stress and anxiety for caring for her daughter throughout the movie, and it is an incredible performance and movie that I will never have the stomach to revisit. And now for the big one, Best Picture. And let's start right off the bat, I'm not happy that F1 was nominated. I know the Academy has had a weird insistence on including a big blockbuster movie since the category was expanded to 10 back in 2009, but why not Superman? I think the movie had a much bigger cultural impact than F1 did and was better in every phase of the movie. Now for the Film Bro movies, One Battle After Another and Marty Supreme. I've been alluding to it throughout the video, but I just did not care for these movies. While I cannot deny that One Battle After Another is great from a technical perspective, it really disappointed me in its story and felt scared to delve more into the political topics that it tiptoes around. And its fetishization of black female revolutionaries was gross, to say the least. I don't have enough time to fully delve into that topic, but if you want to learn more, FD Signifier has a great video about it that I highly recommend you check out. And Marty Supreme as a whole honestly just pissed me off. I don't mind movies where the main character is an objectively bad person, but when they have no growth in a 2.5 hour long movie, that's when you start to lose me a little bit. And how the female characters were written and existed in this world felt like they couldn't exist without Marty, which, yeah, that's when you really lose me. There are a lot of issues and criticisms of the Bechdel test, but I've never seen a movie fail it so poorly. And Kevin O'Leary, was it really necessary to involve Kevin O'Leary? And onto the Netflix movies, Train Dreams and Frankenstein. Oof. I talked about Frankenstein a little bit earlier. It is a very visually pretty movie, but tonally it felt all over the place. And as much as I love Oscar Isaac as an actor, it just felt like a poor casting decision. And with Train Dreams, also incredibly pretty, but when it's going against two other movies in this category that tackle grief, in Hamnet and Sentimental Value, it was incredibly one-dimensional in how it approached the topic. I think I'm much lower on The Secret Agent than a lot of people, which really surprised me. On paper, it's the perfect movie for me. I love talking about and learning more about politics, but I really struggled to engage with this one. It felt like it was trying to be two different movies at the same time, and at least right now, it wasn't for me. I may try and revisit it at a later date, though. Hamnet. This one I'm scared to talk about because while it is really pretty, it was fine. It was fine. I don't know. I was expecting more out of this movie with how people talk about it. And similarly to Train Dreams and how that approaches grief, Hamnet also felt incredibly one-dimensional. And I think Jessie Buckley's performance is getting a little overhyped. And them doing a weird reveal at the end that Paul Mescal's character was Shakespeare the whole time just felt strange and was a completely unnecessary choice for me. All right, we made it to the top 3. At number 3, I have Begonia, which I really didn't expect going into the Oscar challenge because I don't usually like Yorgos Lanthimos films. He's usually strange simply for the sake of being strange, so it's no surprise that the one movie of his that I do like is based off another work. I enjoyed this movie even more on a rewatch. The performances are incredible. Highly recommend it. And at number 2 is Sinners. Sinners was one of the best theatrical experiences I've had in a while, so much so that I saw it twice. And while I really love this movie, the performances, the music, the cinematography, the set design, where it really falls short for me are the fight sequences. Upon rewatching the movie, they do kind of take me out of it a little bit. Other than that, I genuinely love this film. And that means my pick for Best Picture goes to Sentimental Value. If you're in my personal life, I have not shut up about this movie since I first saw it. I'm not sorry. I'm gonna keep talking about it, and everyone should go see it. This movie is an incredible family drama that deals with grief while also acting as a metaphor for how Trier views his own works through Stellan Skarsgård's character. I connected very deeply and very intimately with this movie. It's one I'm going to be revisiting for years and will probably crack my Letterboxd top 4 at some point. So that's it. Those are my picks for the Oscars. Thank you so much for watching. I would truly love to know your own down in the comments below. YouTube tells me that I should ask you to like and subscribe, so if you could do that, that would be a massive help and mean so much. Until next time, I'm Maya Claire. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and thank you so much for watching.